Hey guys. This video will cover planning and preparing for War of the Visions content in unit drops. You can easily fail to be prepared for upcoming events or meta changes. You might even miss out on great deals to spend your Viz on. Saving Viz can be challenging overall, so many new units come out or the latest Vision card comes out and it's a must-have. But for new players that haven't quite built up their account, there are a couple of options and recommendations I want to point out before anyone pursues something they might not need. This game does offer some units that are basically free. One of these units is actually a must-have for every account. You can find these units over in the MOG shop. They have been there for some time now and I don't think they will be going anywhere. Depending on when you see this video, your MOG shop may look different. You are going to want to scroll down until you reach the Guild Medal shop. Guild medals can be acquired by participating in guild battles or guild activities. As you can see, you can purchase Shiza, Whisper and Luartha. Shiza is the unit you are going to want to get from this shop. She has an unlockable equipment you can get by maxing her Limit Break and Awakening. Also, in the Arena Medal shop, you can find some Vision cards that can help out a growing account. These are basic staples that can help boost some stats on unit. First Division offers Slash Resistance, Vow of Love as a attack boosted card with hate built in. A Secret Orders offers some slash attack up and agility on its users. To get arena medals, make sure to participate in the daily arena PvP fights. You don't necessarily need to win. The next shop is the Friends Medal shop. You can receive medals from receiving and sending gifts to your friends every day. The notable unit here is Ildira. She is a calculator unit that is very good for building a farming team. It can take a little bit of time getting the medals, but if you are a new player, it will be worth it. Now let's take a look at Shiza and the equipment you can get from her. Illusory Bells is the equipment you get by maxing out her limit and awakening level. Every unit has an item that can be acquired by doing this. These are called TMR equipment. Some TMRs can have abilities that can be leveled up to improve the proficiency of the ability. For the bells, it has AP regeneration. Having AP during combat in a PvP or PvE situation is very important. The bells are used in all areas of casual and competitive. There are some other units I want to mention that are must-haves, whether it is for the power of the unit or their easy access in utility. Black Rose Helena is an incredible unit. She is a 100 cost, so getting her can be difficult. She is fantastic for PvE and farming. She can also be used in PvP situations. So for you newer players, if you manage to get her, I recommend you fully build her. She also has a very useful TMR. It's used by a wide range of players in all types of content and PvP. Just keep in mind that she is 100 cost, and that takes more resources to complete them. Now, let's look at some units of the opposite element and that are easier to pull. In my opinion, Phoebe is a must-have. She has all the basic utilities of a good PvE team and PvP formation. She can cast Haste, Quicken, Cure, and Raise. She is also a SR rarity, so getting shards for her should be incredibly easy. You really can't go wrong with Phoebe. Time and time again I use her for a multitude of things. Not to mention, her TMR isn't too bad, especially if you don't have a lot of armor to begin with. There is one other unit I want to mention in the light element as well. But this one is more for the PvE and farming situation. Fina has a few unique abilities. The most notable one is Cheer. This ability increases faith value on target once it's cast. So you can raise a unit's faith value rapidly by taking them on a quest and repeatedly cast Cheer on a target. Her other ability is her Superior Healing. It's a wide-range heal that also removes ailments. This healing is great for levels or missions that have a lot of ailments that affect your units. Fina can also cast Full Life on a fallen unit, great for missions that require you to pass with no down units. Being that she is an MR unit, she should be easy to acquire and build. Next, let's talk about a tank that can carry you through most PvE situations, Prince Mont. He actually has a fairly decent survivability when it comes to missions. I have even used him to solo raids and included him in high PvP situations, but I also have a lot of Earth Vision cards to support this. If you don't have a tank yet or know how to prepare one, Mont is a great example of having one. Now let's take a quick look at some units that are in the higher tiers of PvP and PvE. These are units you would have to pull by chance, but building them is worth the resources. I am currently in the middle of finishing them myself. I managed to pull them off banner and have been slowly building them for a few months. Sadali is a 100 cost unit that is capable of healing, putting in damage and landing charm to enemies. A staple for an all-wind formation but can fit into any element team. Another great unit in the wind selection is Glaciella. Her high-accuracy attacks can remove courage from targets. She can also make her own chains while fighting enemies. Not to mention she is a spear unit, it's harder to build resistance against piercing damage, making it so that she can usually hit for a ton of damage. I could go on all day talking about units, but those are just a few I want to bring some attention to. Just remember, don't chase a unit if you don't have the resources. It's not just Viz you have to worry about. Espers, Gil, gear and vision cards have a lot to do with planning for current units and units to come in the future. Let's first look at Gil. It's an easy resource to overspend, but it's also a resource you can farm. You can find the guild chamber in the Farplane under the day training tab. Every weekend it will allow you to do unlimited tries for this quest. Sometimes, there is a special week where it's double drops for snappers, but other than that, this is the best way to replenish your Gil. Long-range magic users can clear this fast, which helps farm this as fast as possible. Your Viz resource is by far the most important thing to plan ahead with. Yes, you can purchase more, but it becomes costly. The best cause of action is just to plan ahead. 40k Viz is what is required if you have to pity a unit. Usually the situation varies depending on the banners, but if you really want a new unit, the most Viz you will have to spend is 40k. What I will do is wait a few weeks or even months before pulling on a banner. When I eventually pull on a banner, I can get lucky and end up pulling the unit I want with some of the stuff I passed on. Of course, this will not work with limited units or vision cards, so usually, for me, I end up only pulling on limited banners. This method has helped me acquire a lot of units and cards without having to break bank. Another way to help save some of your Viz is by utilizing the Chocobo Expedition. These expeditions usually have a special area that can give you shards of the limited unit. For Sephiroth, his shards are found in the current expedition that I have my team on. It's completely random, but I do gain shards over time. These special expeditions last for a limited time. Usually, I will wait until the last couple of days before deciding if I need to purchase shards for the unit if I did not acquire enough. Once the limited time is gone, the only other way to get limited shards is through the barracks. The next topic you want to consider when planning ahead is gear. If you know about a unit that's coming out in the near future, you can prepare by considering what kind of equipment you have or can acquire. For example, there's a tank unit coming out and you really want them. Well, what you can do is to try to prepare yourself by crafting the right armor the unit will need. Or perhaps your current teams is not strong enough. It could be that you just need the right type of weapon on them. If you have any recipes, you can select it to see what materials are required to craft it. Sometimes recipes are limited to events or raids, so be sure to double check what and where you can acquire the materials. Simply tap the item to show where it can be acquired. If the mission is not available, it might be that it was from a limited event or from a locked mission in the far plains. If you have the keys to spare, you could simply unlock the mission yourself. Some equipment recipes can be found from a regular story quest. Usually, the gear itself is pretty basic, but if you want to make a quick +5 to use for a while, then you can do that. Usually, the best gear comes from raids, and it usually requires a lot of resources. So when you are crafting gear, Please consider the materials and if they are easy to acquire or not. Here is a sword I would consider easy to make. As you can see, it has a lot of places that you can get the recipes from. Just remember that anything you craft requires ore and books of refinement. Some equipment can be crafted into a +6, but it's best not to worry about that if you are just starting off. That will be a video for another time. For now, I'm going to show the process of getting the +5 crafted. If a material is missing, it will appear as red showing you what you are missing. Even though this is a low-grade weapon, it does take a chunk of gil just to craft it. Once you crafted a gear and it had multiple different stat builds, a screen will pop up asking you to pick a build variation. Usually, the stat that's an option will have a higher value on the gear, so for this example, I'm going to choose Assault. This will give me a weapon with the most attack value possible for this build. It doesn't end there. You must power up the weapon afterwards. First you are going to want to awaken the weapon to the max. As you can see, a +5 gives a slashing modification. Awakening gear does take up more material and more gil. After you awaken a gear, you must then level it up. On this screen, you can hit the max button to automatically have the proper materials added. As this weapon's level is increasing, there is a chance the stats will not max out, so you can select seals to help improve the values as the weapon gets leveled up. You can choose 3 different seals. Up to 49 at once can be used if you are going from level 1 to 50. For this example, I am not going to use any to show you what that is like and what you can do after. As you can see, the attack stat fell short. What you can then do is smith hammer the stat higher. You can use up to a total of 10 hammers total to increase the stats as you want. However, be wise when using hammers because they are harder to come across. If you are still not satisfied with your gear, you can dismantle it and try again. You will lose recipes, seals, and hammers if you use them on the gear. You will get back materials, however. Sometimes, there are in-game events that increase the odds of maxing a gear out. I usually mass build equipment during this time. Now I want to go over a brief summary about espers. They can be difficult to acquire because they come from vision cards. For now, I'm only going to focus on the actual esper part. Having the right espers for the right units can be important if you are trying to maximize their potential. There are a lot of different types of espers to look at various resistances, buffs, and stats. Usually, a unit will want an esper of the same element. You are going to want to look in an espers board to see what they offer. For Cactuar, you can see the nodes I have selected. Magic Up, Magic Attack Up and Maneater. These nodes are ideal for a magic damage unit. You can look at any espers board before selecting what nodes you want. So if you are planning to get some magic basic units in the future, you can rest assured knowing that you at least have a Cactuar in your arsenal. Don't forget that if you have a 5-man team of mages, they will all need an esper that will support them properly if you want your team to be effective. While we are on the Earth espers, I want to show you a great esper for tanking units. Golem has a great espers board that supports defensive stats. Even though he is an Earth esper, you could utilize Golem to anyone in need of some defense. To fully level up an esper, you will have to defeat it in the Beast Den to get the materials needed. Another interesting esper that is great for magic-based damage dealers is Siren. Siren is an esper that has been reliable since the beginning of the game. She has attack reduction casting time and a very high slash resistance. Of course, there are plenty of espers now that are better, but acquiring them can be difficult. That will be all for this planning video. My next video will cover vision cards. Thanks for watching.